On today's episode, we cover a lot of ground. I've invited a serial entrepreneur who has built several different communities. And the latest one is a matchmaking service that matches up podcast guests with podcast hosts. You might guess how we met. Anyway, if you are interested in some of the ways in which he has grown his community membership from scratch, then listen in. And also, if you're interested in possibly placing your company's spokesperson on podcasts and other different types of media outlets, we also walk through some great advice on how to pitch that person and put together the right content to make an impression with show hosts. All right, let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here's your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in marketing to technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues and industry friends of mine who will stop by to tell you their stories. And my goal is that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a quick shout out to TREW Marketing. TREW is a content marketing agency based in beautiful Austin, Texas, and serves companies focused in technical industries. For more information, visit trewmarketing.com. And now, on with our podcast. Well, today I'm joined by James Mulvany. He's a serial entrepreneur and founder of several companies, including podcast.co. And this company, as well as his others, all help marketers use audio content to grow their business. And one of their solutions is called Matchmaker.fm, and this is how James and I met. So welcome to the show, James.
Thanks, Wendy. How's it going?
It's going really well here in Austin, Texas. I'm just starting out my day, but I can tell from your accent you might be in a different time zone.
Yeah, so I'm based in Manchester in the UK. Pretty grim day today here, actually. Grey skies and not looking too good, but it's still pretty warm. So we're getting like an Indian summer, when it kind of comes along at the end of September at the moment. So it's all right.
There you go. Perfect. Well, we have a big tropical storm just to the south of us. So right. It's pretty gray here too, but we'll brighten up everyone's days with talking about building a community today.
Hopefully. Yeah.
And this is something you know a lot about. So having started several businesses yourself and starting from ground zero, and I can't wait to just explore more how you recommend other companies do this that have new initiatives, whether it's a new offering within an existing company or a new company themselves. So can't wait to learn a little bit more from you.
Cool.
Yeah. So when we first met, you found me on LinkedIn.
Yep.
So just maybe we start with that story, because I think it's a nice lead in to how you grow community for your company.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll talk about Matchmaker. So obviously Matchmaker is it's a relatively new platform. We were faced with the challenge when we launched the platform that, no one wanted to sign up to a platform as a guest if there wasn't podcasts on it, and podcasts didn't want to sign up to a platform if there wasn't lots of guests on it. So we were kind of like initially like, okay, how do we launch this thing with, without a huge amount of marketing budget, etc. And as I say, we kind of took it as a side project to begin with. And initially what we did was we sort of tested the demand for this sort of platform by creating a couple of pages on our podcast.co site. And this is something that anyone could do, in any market. We simply had 2 Google forms. They weren't just like enter your name and email address. They asked a few more questions than that. We had one embedded on the site, which was like, if you're looking to be a guest on podcasts, you want to grow your personal brand, please fill out this form. And we had another one, which was like, if you've got a podcast and you're looking for more interesting guests and you want to speak to high profile people about what they do, please complete this form. And we noticed that these 2 kind of funnels almost were starting to get some significant traction. So that was kind of like step 1 of this process. We thought, okay, there's obviously clearly a demand for this kind of service, which connects podcasters and guests. We've just got to build the damn thing to make this actually happen.
Right?
Yeah. So, but to begin with, it was just, literally we had these kind of 2 Google forms, which obviously linked into a Google sheet, but we actually had no way of connecting these 2 groups of people together. So, we then kind of sat down and we began by just sort of like concepting the product and thinking how it could work and making it as simple as possible to use. And obviously then towards the back end of last year, went through the development process, and we had those initial sort of group of people that we could launch the product with, which sort of solved that problem. But then it's a case of how do you scale it? Because to begin with, we might have had, say, I don't know, 100 or 200 people between podcasters and guests on the platform. And, it's still a good number to start off with, but it's still not that exciting. And you can quite easily, speak to 50 people, doing a podcast, as you'll well know, in a very short space of time. So the next was how do we scale it? We kind of thought, well, we still didn't really kind of class it like, a sort of social media platform where, you can browse profiles on the internet. So we thought, okay, let's use LinkedIn to sort of specifically like look for people who we think would be really interesting to connect with, either being podcasters or being the sorts of people that we think would be interested in being featured on podcast, which I think is exactly how we probably came across each other.
Yeah. And when you did that, were you utilizing any sort of automation to make that job easier? I imagine so.
Yeah. So we've used Octopus CRM to do a lot of our outreach, which has been really good. There's lots and lots of LinkedIn automation tools out there. To be honest with you, it's mainly about just been crafting a message, I think, that doesn't come across too obnoxious, doesn't come across too spammy. I think the thing is,
wait,
with LinkedIn
you're saying
now,
you weren't obnoxious in your message? No, I can
not.
say right now that you were not. You did a very good job. So
yeah, I think there's become this pattern on LinkedIn, and you'll know what I'm talking about now. And it's certainly because obviously the popularity and the knowledge of these automation tools has spread so wide and far now. And it's kind of like, hey, insert first name here, I'm interested in speaking to you. And it's like, we can offer you sales. And it's just, I think it's become like very synonymous with sort of people selling sales systems or sort of, just hounding you for business.
I agree.
So we wanted to make sure that, like, first and foremost, in our messaging, we were actually delivering value up front and trying to help people. So the great thing about Matchmaker is we launched, we really didn't have anything to sell. And it was just a case of like, let's just try and build a really great community. That's been first and foremost the mission behind the Matchmaker.fm product.
Well, that helped you, right? You're starting with just providing a service, helping people connect. There's no
absolutely.
Currency that's passing right now. Really, the currency is just giving up your information to participate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird because I've run lots of different software as a service style businesses in the past. I've never built a community like this one as per se. There's obviously always been this element of community in your content marketing and trying to get people involved in discussion, etc. But we've never had like almost like a social network type service. So it's been really, really interesting. And I must admit, I've never tried this kind of direct outreach before either. We've always very much relied on inbound marketing to generate a lot of sales and leads for our businesses. So with this, it's been really refreshing because not only have we been contacting people directly, and we've actually been getting lots of people saying, thanks for introducing me about this. It's been a big lifesaver. And people have turned around to us after a couple of days and say, gee, I've already been booked onto 10 podcasts, or I've already made some really, really valuable connections. And actually for me as an entrepreneur, that's hugely rewarding and exciting.
Yeah, I could imagine so.
Yeah.
And just so you know, I feel the same way about your platform. Having been on it, I've been on several podcasts. I've had several guests on mine, and all have been wonderful caliber people. And so it was a very pleasant surprise. So kudos to you for attracting, some great people onto it. One of the things I wonder about is, as you're building a community, it seems like the value is when you have a tipping point, right? Where you get to a certain number of people where you can start to segment or, find subsets of that community. But until you have enough people, the value is somewhat limited. So what is that tipping point for you, or what has it been, or what was that value prop early on versus what it is now? Has it changed?
Well, I think, the last 8 months, we've just been focused on growing the numbers and also slowly innovating and starting to add more functionality and features to the platform, because I think it's exciting for people when they come onto a platform and, they see it evolving and it's changing in front of their eyes, which is great. I don't know, in terms of a tipping point, I think, we're about to hit 10,000 users, which for me is a big milestone.
Yeah, congratulations.
And when we first started out on this, that almost seemed like unachievable, like this huge number. We were sort of thinking, we can hit to 10,000 users, that's going to be a good achievement this year. it looks like we're going to, we'll smash that goal way before the end of the year, which is good. But, even to begin with, it was like, first of all, it was getting to sort of a few hundred, 500 people. And then can we get to 1,000? And then obviously it was 5K. So, but what I've noticed is recently, obviously, because of word of mouth and because people are getting genuine value and using the platform to make good connections, they happily talk about it to their friends. And that's going to be the next phase for us, because it's still this kind of closed ecosystem. So you have to log in to be able to browse profiles and see your own profile and see other podcasts, etc. So the next phase is going to be trying to encourage people to share their profiles on social media, which I think will hopefully create this more of a snowball effect. Again, it will open up the platform to a much wider audience who perhaps weren't aware of it. And we're going to be relying less on our sort of own outreach, which obviously does still take up quite a lot of time. For myself and the marketing team, we're sort of focusing a lot still on manual outreach. So it'll be good when we can get those social interactions and activations on the go, where people can actually just share their profile. We're going to have things like embeddable widgets where people can actually say, like, book me right on my site, sort of thing. So, little tweaks like that we can make as we're kind of growing it, which will really help to sort of further grow the numbers and get more people on board with the idea.
Yeah, I think that'll make have a great impact when you can tap into people's own networks and communities in order to fuel your growth.
Yep.
Another thing I'm wondering about is how you will monetize this in the future. I mean, surely you're not going to forever offer this wonderful free service, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the plan is, we're going to try and keep always a free option. We'll probably switch to a freemium model in the coming months.
Smart.
We recently had promotion which we ran, which was the Founders Plan, where we offered some of the customers or the users that sign up in the early days. So it was like, I think the first couple of thousand users, we invited them to sign up for like a lifetime deal, so that they can always get access to, like, when we do monetize the platform, they've just paid that one-time fee as a kind of thank you for being early adopters of the platform.
So
that's worked really well.
That value proposition for those first people that join the community. I think that's an amazing offer there. Yeah.
And then also, and running that promotion has allowed us as a business, obviously, to kind of have this quick injection of cash, which is allowing us to keep the lights on, because obviously, when you get to a certain level, running platforms costs money. We obviously have a development team who are working on building all these new features, which cost money.
Work for free, really?
I know, exactly.
Motivating, helping out podcasters, companies,
so that has been a really good idea. It's almost like it's like a sort of self-sustained crowdfunding campaign kind of thing, but rather than turning to Kickstarter or one of these Indiegogo, one of these crowdfunding campaigns, we've kind of just done it with our own user base, which is, again, it's been really fantastic. And again, I think the other benefit to doing this is you're sealing those people in as sort of fans for life too. So whatever functionality we release as a sort of premium functionality, which obviously eventually will be charging people like a yearly fee for, these guys will get it for free or for a very low amount, of one-time payment that they've paid forever. And also, again, I think it's going to be great for creating brand advocates, because they're going to be sort of the fans of the platform. They're happy with it, happy to sort of make that one-time commitment, for lifetime use, and they'll be the ones who are really going to be sort of singing our praise and pushing our platform out to their networks as well. And it's in their best interest to do so as well.
Yeah, and they had a voice into what features were prioritized, I'm sure, and
absolutely,
so it's partly theirs.
And one of the things that we're looking at doing soon, which will initially be again with the founders, but we'll be rolling it then out to sort of other users of the platform, is kind of more live events. So like trying to encourage networking and make it a little bit more real time, having speakers on. And obviously at the moment, due to sort of COVID, there's lots of events that are going on now online, rather than going to a conference in flying across the US or going to somewhere exciting, going to get some sunshine somewhere. Like I came to Austin to South. I was supposed to come to Austin myself for South by Southwest this year.
We could have met up and had a drink together.
I know. So, but I couldn't do that. And it was like, I went a few years ago and it was amazing, but of course that's not happening now. So we're looking at trying to, bring this online and see how we can, because we've got such a interesting group of people, how we can kind of get minds together and just create something really exciting.
Very cool. Well, obviously, some of the growth will be predicated on more and more people adopting podcasting in their own marketing efforts for their companies, or even putting their company spokesperson on other podcasts rather than
Absolutely.
starting their own. So
Yeah.
what are some of the benefits that you would share with marketers that are thinking about dipping a toe in?
Being a guest on podcasts, I think
Mhm.
the main thing is that, you know, you get to expose your business to lots of audiences that otherwise would not have seen what you do. Someone summed it, I can't remember who, but someone summed it up in a really good way. It's like, if as a business owner, you got the opportunity to go and stand on, you know, like in a town square and speak to 200 different people each week for 20 minutes on a topic that's interesting to them and interesting to you, would you do it? Of course you would. So, you know, this is the opportunity that podcasts present. You know, this podcast now in such a diverse range of areas. You know, there's really one of the most obscure podcasts we've seen is like one which was actually on batteries. Can you believe it? But yeah, of course, you know,
I can.
health and fitness,
Listen, I
personal
work with
development.
engineers all day. I can absolutely, like, batteries, that's a huge topic, James. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like, that's the thing, you know, you can go and find a podcast for whatever your business is or whatever your area of expertise is. You can definitely find a podcast that will be relevant. And, you know, it's just then a case of just don't treat it like a sales pitch, treat it like just a discussion. You're there to try and impart your learning, whatever that might be, whether it's your business or just your area of expertise on other people, and just have a conversation. Just treat it like, you know, you're chatting to people and about an area of interest that you're all incredibly passionate about.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. Just be authentic and educational in your content.
Totally.
So I noticed that when you offered to be on my podcast, you did something a little bit out of the box compared to most people that have expressed their interest in being a guest.
Okay.
Do you remember what you did?
Yeah, the video pitch.
You sure did.
Yeah. So I think, you know, again, this is one of these things. If you're going to be on someone else's podcast, you send them a message which is text-based. They can't really get a feel for you. But I think if you're record yourself on camera, or even if you just record an audio clip, you know, immediately the person you're kind of pitching to be on their podcast, they kind of get a sense of who you are and your character and, you know, how you come across. And again, there's different podcasts for different people. Sometimes, you know, I'm quite upbeat and talk quite quickly, but I probably wouldn't be right for something that's really kind of heavy on, like, I don't know, business finance or something like that. You know, you know, it doesn't really suit my style. So, you know, it's just another way of reaching out. And again, there's just so much noise. A lot of podcasters are getting pitches all the time of people who are looking to, you know, appear on them. So video, I think, is just a cool way to get through. It gives it a little personal touch.
I agree. And I could tell from that video, I could, like you said, sense your tone, sense, you know, how you articulate your messages. So it was a great shortcut. The other thing I've seen people use quite a bit are these one pagers. So almost like a personal branding one pager. And it's something, you know, I want to develop for myself, which I haven't done, but I find those to be an interesting shortcut because they list, here are the types of things this person can speak about. Here's some potential questions you could ask them. Here's their backstory, you know, a short bio. And it was like, wow, in one page, this answered most of the questions I would have on whether or not this person's a good fit. And it helped me as a host prepare. So I think that's another great tool.
Yeah, I think you know, you make some good points there when you talk about especially the sorts of questions or the sorts of topics that you can talk about, because sometimes podcasters, they want to create, you know, they want to get a sense of what each episode is going to be about. And there's some podcasts where every single episode is on one topic. And then there's some where it might just be a bit more loose. So it might be talking about marketing or content marketing in your case, you know, so each episode will have its own set different sort of story. And, you know, as a podcaster, I'm sure you kind of are aware that you want to give your audience value. You know, you want to keep it fresh each time. So one time you might have someone who's an expert on, say, email marketing. The following time you might have someone who's an expert on Facebook retargeting or whatever it might be. So I think by giving information, if you want to be a guest, by sort of telling podcast hosts as much about you as you can and what sort of topics you can talk about, yeah, of course, you know, it helps them think, right, okay, well, we've had quite a few people recently who have talked about this, but that sounds like really refreshing and different. So why don't we discuss that?
Yeah. I think also some good advice for marketers that are looking to set that spokesperson up for success is don't reinvent this as you go to pitch from, you know, one interview to the next. prepare ahead of time. What are the 4 to 6 key topics that you want the spokesperson to cover that are a match for where your company's going?
Yes.
And then develop those out. And then depending on the show, choose which one fits that well, or maybe it's the timing. Of course, sometimes these are time sensitive, but that's something that we did. I wrote a book called Content Marketing Engineered. And so we took sections of that book and said, okay, let's formulate topics and questions around each section, and it would all tie back to promoting the book and our on-demand training, but it's very educational in the material itself. So
that's great. And I guess as well, the you're not having the same conversation over and over again then as well, which I think is really important. There are too many podcast guests that I kind of get the sense that actually they just say the same things over and over again.
Oh, like they're one canned thing and they go everywhere with the same thing. Oh, yuck. Okay.
And I think, it's good to have, of course, it's good to have some stuff that you can rely on, that you kind of know inside out, you can talk confidently about. Mm-hmm. But, I think, you need to treat each episode or each interview you're either doing or giving as unique, because it just keeps it interesting for everyone. Yeah. I think I just get bored myself if I was saying the same thing over and over again, to be honest, Well,
what's next for you? So you're going to continue to work on Matchmaker and obviously add features and expand the community. What else do you have going on?
So Matchmaker is doing really well. We are also working on producing podcasts with a few clients. We've got a roster of businesses and clients we work with as part of podcast.co, and actually helping them with their creation process. So very busy with that at the moment. We're actually just about to hire a head of production who's going to kind of oversee our production team. Lots to do at the moment. Matchmaker, I think, is going to continue growing. We've got lots of features which we're going to be releasing from now until like Christmas time. So the development team are really busy with those, and of course it's just about keeping on top of what clients want and trying to make sure that we're continually innovating in the space, really.
Great. So if someone is interested in being a guest on a podcast or finding guests for their podcast, then where should they go for more information?
So just check out matchmaker.fm. It's completely free to sign up for both podcasters and guests. We're about to hit 10,000 strong now on the community. So there's literally podcasts in every possible, imaginable vertical, and also guests with huge amounts of expertise in lots of different areas. And then also, if you want to connect with me directly, if you head to jamesm.com/connect, that's where all my social profiles are.
All righty. Well, I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. And thank you so much for being on today, James. It's really interesting.
Thanks, Wendy. Cheers.
Visit TREWmarketing.com/podcast for notes and resource links from today's episode. While you're there, learn other ways to grow your business with content marketing, from educational resources such as self-paced training to hands-on services by the expert TREW marketing team. You can also order my book, also named Content Marketing Engineering. Thanks, and have a great day.